So a lot of people think you need a really big budget to make Google Ads work properly for you, but it's just not true. So in this episode, you'll learn how to get the most out of a small budget, like $500 per month, without wasting a cent. If you're new here, my name's Josiah Roche, and I've helped over 300 small businesses generate more than $73 million in new revenue using Google Ads, often with budgets under $1,000 a month. So first, we need to break down the budget. So if we've got a $500 monthly budget, which works out to be around $15 per day, that means every click counts, especially since your average cost per click would be around $5 to $6 per click, right? And it really just depends on, obviously, your industry and location, what that number will be. Sometimes you could pay $20 a click or $50 a click, depending on if you're a law firm or, if you're in a competitive industry like digital marketing, for example, they're huge. But if you're a local business, like a local dentist and stuff, you can actually get really affordable clicks around $5 to $6. So let's take the example of $5 to $6 per click, right? And if you've got the $500 budget per month, you're looking at around 3 clicks per day or around 100 clicks for the entire month. Basically, if you look at it, you're probably just paying for 100 clicks, right? And so the tricky part is not just getting the traffic, of course, like not just getting those clicks. It's making sure those clicks come from the right people who are likely to become customers. And with such a tight budget, you can't really afford to throw away money at a broad audience and hope something sticks or works, right? You can't just expect that you've got a small budget, you can just blast it out and just put a few generic keywords in there and you're just going to magically get customers. It's not really how it works with Google Ads, especially when Google is trying to put out their smart campaigns and basically say, it's super easy to get customers. Just put in your keywords of you're a dentist in Melbourne, just put that in there and we'll get you customers. It's not that simple. So you need to be very careful on how you spend each dollar and making sure each click gets closer to your goals of getting a new booked appointment or a new lead coming through. And this ties into the idea of what's called opportunity cost. And so every dollar spent on someone who's not ready to buy is not a dollar that you could have attracted some other click, someone else, right? So cutting down on waste is huge, especially if you've got a short budget. Next up is tighten your targeting, right? So when you're working with a small budget, targeting is your new best friend. You don't have the luxury of going after huge audiences and going broad because you'll drain your budget super fast and without getting you any return whatsoever. So instead, you need to narrow your focus geographically. So for example, if you're running ads for a dental clinic in Sydney, instead of targeting all of Sydney, Australia, you could focus on specific suburbs close to where your clinic operates. And that way you'll face way less competition, you'll have lower cost per clicks, and you'll reach people who are more likely to convert because they're nearby. And this taps into what's called the availability heuristic. And people tend to choose services that feel more close and convenient, like a clinic in their neighborhood. And by narrowing geographic targeting, you're making it easier for potential customers or patients in this case to picture themselves actually taking action. They're imagining it, right? Subconsciously, at least, whether or not that's them booking an appointment or visiting your clinic in person. Number 3 is choosing the right keywords. So once you've narrowed down your area, the next step is to really pick really hyper-targeted keywords. So since you got limited budget, you can't really afford to attract, again, relevant traffic, right? Or broad traffic. So your keywords should be laser focused on what you offer and what your potential customers are searching for. So if you're offering teeth whitening services, for example, go for terms like teeth whitening near me or teeth whitening, insert suburb, teeth whitening new farm or whatever. So these kinds of keywords have higher intent because the person is searching nearby and they're looking for something really specific. So it makes them more likely to convert into a customer, right? Instead of just saying teeth whitening Sydney or teeth whitening services, right? You can inject that suburb in there. So start with phrase match to begin with, phrase and exact match. I recommend phrase match just to give you a little bit of wiggle room so that you've got the flexibility and you're capturing different variations of your main keyword without being too strict. So you really need to use a balance between phrase match and exact match in this case, because the phrase match will give you that broader reach that you need without being too broad, but exact match gives you a higher precision. When someone's typing in an exact phrase, at least you're going to show up for that exact phrase. Like teeth whitening services Richmond, then you're going to show up whenever someone types that exact phrase in. But again, if they type in any other variation, you're not going to show up. So that's why phrase comes in, or where phrase comes in. So number 4 is keeping your ad structure dead simple. So when you're setting up your Google Ads campaign, obviously keep it super simple. You've only got $500, right, for the month. So just one search campaign with one responsive search ad is usually enough to get you started. And so adding too many layers can really create more confusion. It could spend your budget way too fast, and basically you won't see the results that you need within that month. Once you've got one search campaign, you got one responsive search ad inside of it, you got one ad group, of course, that is targeting keywords to do with like teeth whitening, near me, teeth whitening, Richmond, teeth whitening, blah, 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 right? Then when you've got all that sorted, then you can use what we call dynamic keyword insertion inside of your actual ad itself. So dynamic keyword insertion inside of your first headline can really help your ad feel super relevant to the person searching for a particular thing. So dynamic keyword insertion basically inserts the keyword that you're bidding on, like teeth whitening services near me, into your exact ad copy itself. So into the exact headline. And depending on what the person searches for, it will change that keyword to what they search for, depending on if you're bidding on that. It's very simple and it works really effectively, because when someone sees their exact search term, what they typed in your ad, exactly how they typed it in, then it creates an instant connection there. And it taps into what we call cognitive fluency. And it basically just means that people are more likely to take action or engage with things that they feel familiar and easy to understand, something that's familiar to them, right? So pinning this dynamic keyword insertion to the first pinning position, because there's a thing called pinning. You'll see it next to the headline. There's a little pin icon. Click that and then click pinning 1 or headline 1 or position 1. And then if you can add your dynamic keyword insertion in there, at least it's the first thing that people see when the ad pops up, right? So it creates that instant connection. Whereas your other headlines that are not pinned in the first pinning can address more pain points and desires to build trust through social proof. So social proof is a really powerful psychological tool because it can build the trust really quickly and reduce that friction and risk that people feel when they're deciding to take action, aka bandwagon effect. Number 5 is leverage psychology in your ad copy. We just spoke about that. I'm going to expand upon it. So people naturally respond to urgency and social proof, as we just discussed. So including things like $500 off teeth whitening or limited time offer, or, $500 off until June 30 or whatever, is something like that is really powerful, especially with creating urgency and scarcity in your headlines. And it makes them feel like they need to act right now instead of just delay or wait for, another alternative to hit them in the face. So this plays into what we call the scarcity effect, where people value things more when they seem limited or exclusive. So another thing I recommend is using numbers in your headlines whenever possible. And I've already probably hinted that a lot here. And it plays into what we call the anchoring effect, where people rely heavily on the first piece of info that they see. And guess what? The thing that people see or gravitate towards is usually a number. It's not words or characters. It's actually usually a number that they gravitate towards, and they will remember that. So try using that in your headlines in different combinations. Number 6 is improving your quality score. So one of the best ways to stretch that $500 budget is by improving what's called quality score. So a higher quality score leads to lower cost per clicks, which is super important when every dollar matters. So Google's quality score is basically a way that Google measures how relevant your ad is to the searcher. That's basically it. So it's based on keywords, ad copy, and how your landing page fits together and how they all work together basically. So to improve your quality score, everything needs to line up perfectly. So your ad copy should reflect the keywords you're bidding on, and your landing page should deliver exactly what your ad promises and the keywords in your ad. So the smoother this feels and the more congruent and consistent this feels, the less that you'll pay per click. So for example, you can get up to 50% discounts on your clicks if you've got a really high quality score. If you've got a 10 out of 10 quality score for a keyword like teeth whitening services near me, then every click that you get for teeth whitening services near me, when it was usually $5 per click, you're going to get it down to $2.50 per click instead as a discount. Google will reward you for that. So even if your ads are amazing and you're getting really high click-through rates, you're getting some discounts, but not the best quality scores, nothing really matters, right? Because there's two aspects to this. You need to get higher quality scores by optimizing your landing page, right? But the real problem here, the elephant in the room, is that your landing page isn't converting people, right? So nothing matters if nothing's going to convert. You can send all the right traffic to that landing page, but if they're not converting, the landing page is the problem. So this is where you really need to seal the deal, because that's your 24/7 salesperson. That does the selling for you. So it's especially important when you're working with a small budget. So a strong landing page with a really clear incentive or an offer. It could be a special offer like a free consultation. These are the things that you get out of that, like tangible things, to nudge them to take action. That'll make the world of difference. So you need to keep it very, very simple. Too much information or too many distractions on that page that you're sending people to can lead to cognitive overload. So it's when people get really overwhelmed and they leave without converting because they've seen way too much shit on the page. So try to stick to the basics, very clear messaging, a really solid offer, one call to action button along the way, not like 20 call to action buttons and here's our blog too, and here's this and here's that. Don't distract them. Just keep them through going down to booking that appointment or giving you a call, and that is it. Try to get rid of any other distractions. Number 8 is ongoing optimization. So obviously, once your campaign's live, you'll need to make sure you're optimizing it a lot, right? Because you've got a limited budget and you don't want the algorithm to spend recklessly. So especially in the first month and the first few days, you need to review your search terms report. So this will show you what people are actually typing in before they click on your ad. So if you spot any irrelevant searches, add those as negative keywords to block out that traffic that are unlikely to convert. So this lets you focus your budget on higher quality clicks the whole way through. So this entire process is very similar to that Kaizen philosophy, that's Japanese philosophy of continuous improvement. So all of the small tweaks over time can lead to big gains in performance, kind of like that Atomic Habits book, right? So by regularly monitoring all this kind of stuff, you can, obviously get the most out of every dollar that comes your way. This ties into the next thing I want to talk about quickly is even after a few weeks, if your search campaign hasn't delivered any results whatsoever, you can still have other options that you can try. And one alternative is what's called a Performance Max campaign. So Performance Max, I've tried with a lot of my clients, and we've managed to lower the cost per lead or the cost per booked appointment in half, even for service businesses when we're trying this out. It doesn't work every time, but it does work, like probably 7 out of 10 times. So it's a good idea if you can try a Performance Max campaign whenever you can, so that you can at least hedge your bets a bit more, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. So my final advice is to make sure that you're staying flexible the whole way through, because Google Ads is not a set and forget platform like a lot of people believe, especially when you're working with a limited budget. So be ready to make sure you're experimenting with different bidding strategies, you're testing different ad copy, different match types with the keywords you're using. And over time, you can see better improvements, and at least you're learning from something. So there you have it. Getting high quality traffic with a $500 Google Ads budget is totally doable, but it takes careful planning and tweaking along the way. So the main thing to remember is that every dollar counts, right? And it's going to depend on your industry, your location, where you're targeting, the way that you structure your ads, whether or not you've got DKI, your quality scores, your ad rank. We didn't even get into ad rank, but that's something I'll go in another video. But again, it's not set and forget. So don't expect that you're just going to set these up and then customers are going to come. So that's everything today. If you've got any questions or want to share how your campaigns are going, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers.